Hi everyone, welcome or welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all doing well. My name is Mishka and in today's video we are building something big and exciting. So get a snack, come on back, and then please don't forget to like and subscribe. And let's get into this. So let's build the Ravenwood Occult Academy. So today we are obviously building in Ravenwood on the Old Ravenwood estate lot, which is a 50 by 50 lot. And this lot was just like perfect for what I was wanting to build. It's the way it's situated, what's around it and so on just made sense for it to be where the school would be. So I actually placed this on a 64 by 64 lot first, and I am so happy that my game essentially crashed while I was trying to build it for the first, try. And I decided, no, let's go smaller lot. And I'm so happy because I actually have so much space. This video is an hour long, and this is only the first floor, but there is so much going on, so much detail. I think this is more so a passion project for me than it is building something that I actually wanna and will use in the Sims. It is usable, obviously, but it's colossal. So there's going to be a lot for us to speak about today. I have never spoken for this long before, I think, on here, and I hope you guys will stick around for it. I am super proud by how far or how it looks so far. But I was gonna make it one part, right? But as you can see, first floor already an hour, and also building the outside structure, which took a really long time because you can see from the thumbnail and also from the previews, this is a big build with a lot of detail on it. And so I was gonna make it one part, but it was gonna be long. So I'm splitting it into two. And this way, you guys can give me some feedback or suggestions on which classrooms I should include. So I have watched other videos on occult builds, and I made notes of the different things that you can have. So I'm not quite sure about this because I didn't see this one, but I'm assuming you can teach potions or how to make potions with the cauldrons. But you can let me know. And then I know that that the different occults can use different spells. So I'm thinking maybe a dueling room where they can use their spells. And then obviously you can also teach the medium skill, thanatology, and then vampire lore. So I'm going to try and include everything for that. But now I'm stuck on what I should include for werewolves and if I should include something for mermaids. Because in my mind, Sulani is very far from Ravenwood, and I just don't feel like mermaids would be included. Maybe I can build something entirely separate for mermaids, but no, I don't think I will include it. So on the first floor, we mainly have common areas. So I knew when I went into this, I wanted to build a two-story library. I've been wanting to build something like this, and I am so happy with how it turned out. I think it is my favorite room so far, but I mean, I'm not done yet, so I don't know if it will always be my favorite room. So yeah, let me know which rooms you think I should include, classrooms. And then I think the best way to have this function is to have a family own it, and each person in the family will be someone who is skilled in the specific class that they need to give. So it can be a family of different occults or just like a group of friends that you put in one household and then they own it and run the school. But even if, I just wanted to build it, even if it wasn't like something that I would use, just because I've been having, I don't know, it actually came out of nowhere that I wanted to build something occult. I did not plan on that, but I think I may have mentioned it in a few videos that I was considering it to build something for occults, for businesses and hobbies. And so yeah, so let's just speak a little bit about the shell. So like I said, I knew I wanted a two-story library, and the portion that we're focusing on at the moment is that two-story library. And so I wanted it to have the glass ceilings. Now, the problem with these glass ceilings is usually it will take the roofing off, and so then you can see right through. So I had to make so many adjustments that I actually had to cut out to the inside of the bolt so that when your sim looked up, because I wanted all of the windows in the library to be on display, when your sim looked up, it looked good, I guess. And so I had to make so many adjustments. Not only that, the freezes in the game, which is the trim that goes around the top sections of the build, every time you build a wall and you don't have a certain section designated as a room, the freezes change. So they would come off at certain sections and then they would go on if I would build a wall inside. So it just kept on changing, and I had to continuously go around the board to check if the freezes was there. But I think that's just one thing that happens when you build these big structures. It can be quite stressful. But yes, so to keep this video, it's not even short, it's a long one, but to keep it, I guess, within an hour, I did cut out me doing a lot of the things at the back because there's not a lot of space in the back of the build. Now I know that I probably could have had more space and less space for the inside, but I wanted to make sure that, you know, whenever I build these big things, I like, or castle-like structures, I love having spaces for huge and long hallways. I don't know what it is, but so I wanted to make sure I had space for those kind of things in the build. And like I said, I wanted a 2-story library, and I knew I wanted a massive staircase at the entryway. So we needed space for all of those things. But then I think, you know, I had space for all of those things, but I didn't really anticipate there being so much space for everything. So on the second and the third floors, there's a fourth floor, but the fourth floor is mainly for roofing. So for the second and third floors, that's where we'll fit in the classrooms, and then also a dueling room or dueling space. I also would like to fit a trophy room on one of the floors. Just, I guess, for realism, because you know you would usually have a trophy room in a school. And so what I managed to fit on the bottom, on the first floor, was a library, like I said, a common room, basically 2 common rooms, I would say, or 2 seating areas, rather 2 bathrooms, but they are big bathrooms, and then a utility closet or a utility room, and then a bar, just because I like to have somewhere for Sims to eat or grab drinks or whatever. So yeah, for the outside, I used the roofing, or the roof paint is from the new pack, and then I mainly use Castle Estates Life and Death and Jungle Adventure, sorry, for the painting of the building. Yeah, mainly Jungle Adventure and Castle Estates is the outside of this build. And then for the freezers, I think those are from the new pack. I really wanted this to be like very symmetrical in the front, save for, you know, the buildings that's on the sides of this build. But for the most part, I wanted everything to be symmetrical. But it didn't exactly work out that way. It still looks very much the same on both sides, but there were some differences that I had to account for, since I made one of the sides longer than the other sides. And I also didn't want the build to look very flat and boring by making everything symmetrical. So yeah, then for this, everything, I think all the walls are either tall or medium, because I wanted it to be huge. And when you see your Sims at this build, they actually look tiny, or the build looks really big compared to the Sims, and that's exactly what I wanted. So for the windows as well, I used a combination of Castle Estates and Life and Death. Yeah, Life and Death. And I just want to say Castle Estates is one of my most used packs for this game. I use it almost in every build, and dare I say it may be one of my favorite, even though it's a kit, it may be one of my favorite, Now, does it make sense for the Sims at this moment? Probably not, because I mean, we don't have something like royalty, but for builds like this, it makes sense. So it's versatile in that way. And later on, I do end up changing the roofing on the left hand side of the build, but I'll explain more about that if it comes up. And then for the windows on this front section, I know I show the life and death ones, but I think I ultimately went with just castle estate windows on those two little pillars that are in the front. And the idea that I had for the windows is I wanted them to go from floor to ceiling in certain places. So like you see in the front of the build, and then on the right hand side, it will also go from floor to ceiling in the front like it is on the left. And the reason why we kind of fast forwarded over there was because I actually extended the library by a tick, I think that's what you would call it, or by one square, because I wanted the roof to look a little bit more uh, bigger than what I was looking, and the only way to do that was to extend the library a little bit. And it also gave me a little bit more space inside of the library to create mezzanines. The second level would basically look into the first level. So I'm glad that I did that. And then for the columns, I use castle estates. There's like this, I don't know, the texture of the castle estate columns, it just gives, it's like an older texture, rustic, but still grand, almost like it's made from old marble. And I think that's what I wanted, because my idea for the school is that it has been here for a while, but I didn't want to entirely lose the story of this lot, the Old Ravenwood estate. If I'm not mistaken, there is a ghost that belongs to this lot, a woman. If I'm not mistaken, I don't know. You know, when Life and Death came out, it was quite a while ago, and I watched videos on that pack a while back. But I could be wrong. I could be wrong that it's a woman's ghost that lives on this um estate. So the idea was that this land was basically given to the school to then or have the school on to train occults, is the story that I'm going with in my head. And then for or the fast forward that we just did now, it was just me placing and deciding on the windows, because it actually took me an hour, I'm not even lying, to just decide on which windows I wanted to go for. But like I said, ultimately I decided to go for the castle estates, um the castle estates, yeah, windows. And then for the sides, I decided to put stairs on either side, because I wanted the bowl to really flow through. So for example, if someone's in the bar area, they can come out into the stairs or out onto, I don't know, what would you call this? The outside. Okay, never mind. There's a specific word that I'm looking for, but I can't find the word right now. And then I do have a door on the side of the library section, but I did end up removing the door because I didn't want a door in the library. I just wanted it to be windows in that section. And so I placed down this fountain. I'm not sure which pack the fountain is from. And then some chairs. And while I was busy testing the bowl, I actually loved that the Sims would go there and sit down. I even placed some of the bunny three stumps from cottage living, so there's bunnies running around everywhere. And I didn't want this to be like very scary or eerie like you would usually expect from an occult school. um I don't know, I wanted it to have a university look, but still kind of tied to the occult ness of the bold. I don't know. I hope you get what I'm saying. And then for the grass, what I'm doing now, I wanted it to be very structured, very clean. I was gonna place mazes in the beginning, but there was just not enough space for that. Because to me, mazes kind of are eerie. So I wanted to bring that element in. I don't know where it came from, but it's probably from my first movie that I remember seeing a maze in was Rapunzel, the Barbie version. If you've ever watched that, you know at the end they run through the maze. So, and that's like quite eerie to me. So that's why mazes, I guess I associate with that, and then also Harry Potter. But anyways, yeah, so initially I was going to do the hexagons, right? But it just wasn't enough space. So I came up with this shape, and I showed you only the one side because I did exactly the same thing on the other side. It's just with this side, because the build is pulled out further, that was actually a lot shorter. So I could not do the shape that I had on the other side. So I came up with this shape, and I actually ended up later putting that exact shape on the other side as well. And then because I removed the door here, I was like, what am I going to put here? And so I was thinking about it, and it was about 2 in the morning when I had wrapped up with a build. And I was like, oh, let's make a human size or a sim size chessboard, even though it's not functional. So I came back in the game, I did it, I didn't record it, and then the next morning I was like, nah, let me record it, let me add it, because I actually thought it's not a unique idea probably, but I actually thought it was kind of cool. So for the pawns, I found something from Get Together. It's called the basic something, and I forgot what that word is. And then for the male statues, that's from Romantic Garden stuff, I think. And then the female is from Vampires. The two horses is from City Living. And then I couldn't find anything that really looked like a rook, or I call it a castle, and then a bishop. I couldn't find, anything. So I just used the urn from Life and Death. And also I couldn't fit in both pieces. So I just, use one. So I guess you can say it's the bishop. And yeah, that's as far as what I know about chess, to be honest with you. Now we are finally moving inside. For the back, I just did once again the rooms, and then put the fences in it, and then I raised up some plants from Cottage Living to kind of look like it was growing just in that section. I did that in the front as well. And then there were these bump outs at the back that I didn't know what to do with, but I didn't want to put a roof on it because it would have looked weird. So I put statues on them, and they kind of look really cool. And then I made a little section for the buns as well. Yeah, that was all that I did at the back. Now, this staircase, oh my word. The building of the staircase wasn't bad. Like, I got this shape down. It's very grand. It was the color scheme that I went with in here that just kept on confusing me. Initially, I wanted to go with, this brownish color, but I felt like there was something in me that was feeling very constricted by the brownish color, and I knew that I wanted deeper. I wanted color in the bold, so I wanted deeper blues, purples, reds. You see it in the previews. Like, I put a lot of color into the bold, but I felt so restricted by the brown over here. And at one point, I just gave up on the staircase altogether because I was like, I need to move on. This is not working out. So the structure stays the same. I show you some of the other changes to the structure as well. But throughout me building the other rooms, I kept on going back and changing the color of this, and then coming back and changing the color of that. So I was like, okay, I'm not going to keep on showing myself going back to the staircase. I am going to just show you the end product. But what I end up having here at the moment is what it is. And then I draw a few walls and stuff like that, but that's all included in here. And the thing of why I always go back the whole time, it's because I know that I can make it better. Every time I've shown myself that I can make it better, so I will just go back and bother. It's like a wound when you keep on scratching and scratching and scratching and scratching at the wound until you feel relief. Maybe that's not the best, it's not the best description, but it's something like that feeling, or maybe like when something itches. Yeah, and you keep on scratching until you feel relief. That was the staircase for me. So yeah, I wanted to place the statue again on the inside, and that statue is from the early release content for the Life and Death. But I would say, if you don't, or not Life and Death, Businesses and Hobbies, if you do not, get the early release, you can just replace the statue with the ones from either Vampires and or Romantic Garden stuff. Or if you don't have that, there are a few statues in the base game that you can replace those the woman with. Yeah. Here you can see me building those walls because I wanted to do something. I wanted to put a lot of paintings on the walls, and I think you may know the reference. I took a lot of references from that movie, not perfect um, replicas or replications of the movie. Maybe you can guess throughout how many references I took and which movies I'm actually speaking about. So yeah, I have them all throughout the build, and this is by no means my submission for the movie. If I ever decide to build the magic school from that movie, I will let y'all know, and it will probably take me a month to get it done. So as you can see right now, it looks very brown, and this flooring is so intense, but it's the only checkered flooring that we have. But at this point in time, I wasn't thinking about it, but I had made a checkered floor outside, and so later on I do bring the checkered floor inside. The one that I made at the chess table, I bring it inside of the build. And then for the information board, that's from Cottage Living, but I did end up removing it because I wanted to replace it with a school seal instead, since this is where you come in. I don't think I did find another place for the information board, even though I really wanted to include it. But yeah, I ended up just removing it and replacing it with a seal that we got from Castle Estates as well. And then for the at the back of the stairs at the moment, I have this these columns and spandrels, but I removed that. I didn't like it. And yeah, so there you can see I removed it. And then I was gonna go with this marble at one point, but that was giving castle and not really, I don't know, occult school to me. It's so weird to sometimes explain what is going on in my head because half of the time I don't know what's going on in my head. And I just, reach the end product and I'm like, am I happy with it? And sometimes I go, no, I'm not. And so I come back and I try and make myself happy with it. But most of the time, at the end, what I post is usually what I'm happy with. But yeah, so I had the idea because if I took away the spandrels and the columns, there would have been these holes behind the stairs that nothing was going on with. So I had the idea to raise up the platforms and then to put these two statues on it, almost as if everything is looking at you when you come through the door. Because on the stairs that are by the door, I also placed the two gargoyles. I think that's what they are called. They are from the vampires pack. I don't know if I ended up showing or if it got cut of me placing them on the stairs. And then this room, the two rooms on the sides of the staircases, I had no idea what to do with, and so I just created seating areas for Sims. Yeah, something different. This one is more of a display and seating area. If you wanted to and you wanted the possibility to make more money in this school, I would say this is a good place to display some things. But I didn't really want to have a buy and sell element in this build. I wanted it to function as a school or a place where your Sims, your occult Sims comes for lessons. I feel like there should have been something like that. And I know we have the one in the Magic Realm, but please, that thing is so ugly. No offense. That thing is so ugly. And maybe one day I'll rebuild the school just for the magic Sims, or what do you call them? Spellcasters. But yeah, this is not that. This is everyone. This is all inclusive, excluding mermaids, because to be honest, mermaids are so lackluster in this game. There is nothing for mermaids. When I play with my mermaid, because there's one that I play with, I use the Spinning Plum Bobs mod, the expanded mermaids mod, because there's at least some things more to do with the mermaid. Let me know, if I wasn't including just a pool for mermaids, what else could I include for them? Do they have a skill? They do have a skill. No, I don't know. I've never played with just the games version of mermaids, so I wouldn't know if they have a skill. I thought the skill for mermaids is from the mod. So let me know if they have a skill and if there is a possibility to add something for them here, or if I should just do something for mermaids on its own. But yeah, so for this room, like I said, display room. And then I just realized this, but I made the walls and then I had all of these moon paintings around it. That was not intentional at all, but kind of cool that they relate to one another. Yeah, so then I just, finished up this room. Now for that room, that paneling, I didn't end up really liking the paneling. I feel like the paneling is a really nice in the black swatch, but without the black swatch, or in the brown swatch as well, but in the other swatches it can be a bit much. So I changed that one to a new paint that we got with the businesses and hobbies pack. It's like this deep green color. I place it in this build, in this room later on. And so I use that paint as, or in that room as well. Yeah. So there you can see I'm going back, I'm changing. There's this word in Afrikaans, we call it pieter, which means to basically touch, but it's in a bad way. I don't know what's the English word for it, but I feel like that basically describes what I'm doing with the staircase the whole time. Um, yeah, and so here is the point at which I decided to change out those other tiles and to use what I used for the chest court. I think I would call it a chest court. Yeah, to use that in here. I wish that there was a carpet that I liked, because I would have preferred a carpet in here. I wanted it to be a little bit cozier. This is the place where students come and they sit down and they conversate, and I don't know. I ended up putting a chess table in here as well. And I wanted to avoid the amount of objects, or I wanted to reduce the amount of objects, because this build is so huge. And guys, just with the first floor, it is 600,000 simoleons. So that's why I say maybe this is just like a passion project for me and not something that I'm actually going to play with, because I am scared for how this build will function in game. If you have a better setup than me, then obviously you are fine. But yeah, I don't know if I'd be able to use it in game. So for me, this is just something that I'm using as a creative outlet. Um, yeah. And then for each color as well, it was also inspired by that movie, that movie that I'm not going to mention. Or did I mention it in the beginning, really? You see, sometimes the recordings are so long that I kind of forget what I've said in the beginning, or usually I will record twice and forget if I mentioned it in the first recording or in the second recording. I have the memory of a goldfish. And so that's why I struggle to remember. But if you guys can just help me out in the comments, that would be great. I wish I had someone here with me so that they could tell me, but I don't. It's just me in the room and I'm speaking to my phone, because that's what I record on at the moment. Yeah, so for this room, like I said, I wanted it to be cozy and to have like chairs scattered about. Now, at the moment, the chairs here look very organized. And so I went back in and I made it a little bit more, dysfunctional. Not really, but I tried my best, because, with the routing for the Sims, you still need to have space for certain things. And so, yeah, I usually do these in all of my darker Gothic Victorian builds. I think it's just I don't know, a thing with a fireplace is to have lots and lots of candles around it. And so that's what I was doing there. The candles are from Lovestruck, and then the white ones are from Paranormal. And if I'm not mistaken, the other ones are from Dine Out or My Wedding Stories. Yeah. So here you can see I changed it to that maroon color, and that maroon paint, I used the green swatch of that in the green room. And then the black paneling. I do end up changing this door as well. because it was just too light for it, and I ended up using a life and death. No, actually, I removed the door from the section entirely and I placed the door where the arch is currently, because I wanted Sims to have to use the hallway to go into the library and not have or not be able to get from this room into the library. So yeah, that's why I think I show that change here. And then, yeah, I just placed these shelves to clutter it up a little bit more while still, you know, trying to keep the clutter to a minimum. But I can't promise that I will, because to be honest with you, um, if I wanted to look like something, I really struggle with not going with what I wanted to look like. So there you can see me replace the doors, and I actually ended up taking out the other door. And then I had this weird little open space over here, so I just decided to place down a chessboard. I like to place down items that Sims autonomously will go and use, and I know they love playing chess. So just to, you know, if they're not busy with classes, use the other objects in the build. And I actually had this set to a bar when I tested it out. Um, and the Sims were everywhere. They were in the library, they were reading. I placed a teapot in the library, they were having tea. They were playing on the computers, obviously, in the library. Finally starting on the library, or I'm finally starting on the library. And for the staircase at the back, right, I wanted it to be as spiral or winding as I could get it. So I was playing around with the staircase before I decided to build or move on to the library. And I actually don't know how I ended up making that. I have no idea how I got it to spiral like that. But I was just whopping and winding it in different directions to get it, like I said, as winding as possible. And so, yeah, like I said, I for this uh library, I wanted it to be very brown, very oldish. And so you'll see a lot of brown in here, but I think it all works together. And you kind of saw in the beginning that I already did the mezzanines, because like I said, I had to fix the roof since it is an open roofing. And then also, let me just explain with this bookshelves, right? I wanted them to be from floor to ceiling, and I liked the one from Crystal Creations, but for some reason, when I went back into the game after I finished editing the video, those were gone. So it might be that the game is not recognizing it because it's not on the floor. I did then raise it up with a tool mod, but and then I went back in the game and it was still there. So I'm hoping that will work. If not, I guess it will just be the one bookcase at the bottom. But yeah, I just wanted to explain that. So when I finally put this on the gallery and you do play with it, if you see the objects missing, that's why. And yes, on objects missing, so I'm trying out this build because what I did in the bar was very different. You'll see a little bit later. And so I needed to test that out to see if it was going to work. And so I bring my sim here and to test it out, and I set it as a bar so that I can test it out. And so there's sims going through the building and whatnot. They are busy messing up, leaving glasses and cups everywhere. But also things are just disappearing. They are disappearing, and I'm like, every time I pass something, I'm like, I just had a statue here. What is happening? Where are things going? So I thought, oh no, do I have that bug where things disappear? No, turns out the sim that I brought here was a kleptomaniac and she was swiping everything. So that was very frustrating throughout the process because I was not reading the notifications and keeping track of what she was doing really. I was just wanting to test out and then building here and there because there were some changes that I had to make to the bar. And yeah, so things were just going missing left, right, and center, and it was her all the time, being or stealing everything. Yeah, so for this section, I just put in a few desks, I guess where students will study. And for the lights on there, I did end up using those ones, but I changed them to the ones from, I think, Cozy Bistro because I like the look of them more. And then here, I'm putting a main area for studying or like a group study area. But I ended up changing that to the front of the build. You'll see a little bit, or to the front of the library, towards the door, because I wanted the counter to be here. So I created, even though it's not functional, I created a reception desk area where you come, you know, to get help, I guess, in the library. I just felt like the library was huge, so I needed something to fill up the space. And so, just for realism and also to fill up the space, I decided to put the counter in, which you see me doing now. But I'm gonna flip the counter and the table just because it worked out better with the space. And yeah, so the library is probably my favorite room at the moment. You know, it could change depending on the rooms that I do upstairs. Uh, yeah, but I think it's gonna be a difficult one because I think my favorite part of the library is the windows that's on the other side, which you will see more up close when I do the seating area over there. I think the library is what made me want to build this because, you know, me and Pinterest, birds of a feather, we flock together. And so I was on the like scrolling, doom scrolling, I guess. And I came across all of these, I guess because I've searched them a lot in the past, I was getting dark Victorian libraries and so on. And a lot of them have these huge windows, and then they either have tables or seating areas under them. And so I wanted to create something similar. And then I was like, okay, but I don't want to build just the library. And then the idea came from, okay, let's build an occult school. So that's where this idea came from. Um, but you can't really see it here. You'll only really be able to see it if you go into the build. I do try to show you at the end what the windows look like, but it's just so nice. I would be in this library all the time if I had it at my university, even though our library was kind of, it was a nice library and I was in there all the time. I mean, there's nothing on this kind of library. I wish it was an older kind of library, but I feel like ours was updated a little bit. So yeah, I kind of didn't show the part where I switched the counters just because that took me a long time to actually switch the counters and the table. And yeah, I also placed out some books and clutter, if you saw, and that was just to make it easier to fill up the shelves and then also fill up the tables. And yeah, you can kind of see me trying to see if it's gonna look nice with the window and everything. And yeah, I'm absolutely happy about how this turned out over here. I wish there was a way for me to show you how it looks properly, but hopefully I captured it in the end clips. I tried my best over there. And so yeah, I just finished up the seating area for this section over here. It was kind of bare, so I decided to put these, I guess, things over there, clutter over there. The abacus is from Pierism's kit, I think, the Refined Living kit, and then that hourglass is from Life and Death. Yeah. So for the stairs, right now, actually, it's not functional because I forgot that because the walls are diagonal, Sims won't be able to pass there, and there isn't one square open, which is what they usually need to move through certain sections or books or objects and stuff. Books, I mean objects. So I only realized later on when I was like, why is my sim walking all the way to the other steps when there are stairs in the library? And so I had to actually move the stairs to um make sure that it was functional. And so here is just another little reference that I'm building. I got this idea on a whim, which is why it's so small. I probably would have made it bigger if I thought about it earlier, or if it was my intention to include this. So I was looking for shelves that had books on it that were like really old, that looked a little bit worn, you know, so that it gave those oldish looks, like these books are ancient. There are some nefarious things in these books, you know, ordinary students should not have these books. So yeah, that's what the idea was for in here. And it would be nice if you could kind of lock it, but you can't. I don't think you can with a business. Can you lock them with a business? I should check that actually. But yeah, so that's all for the library. For the most part, I then place another seating area, and then I also placed bookshelves, because I mean it's a library, so there's just like bookshelves everywhere. And then there was that open space over there, so I decided to place, that's what I'm referring to as a gargoyle. I don't know if that's what the game actually calls it, and I don't know why I'm calling that a gargoyle. I don't know where I got that from, but yeah. So I then just put in another desk over here, and then that book thing, and I decided to move it in front of the gargoyle, almost as if the gargoyle is protecting it. Can someone please tell me where I got this word from, because I actually have no idea where I got the word from. Yeah, and then yeah, finished up the restricted section. And if you hear any clapping, or it's because I'm talking with my hands at the moment. Sometimes I need to remind myself you can't do that, because you know the phone is going to pick up everything. But yeah, I just fast forwarded here because once again, just doing the same that I did downstairs, placing bookshelves. These bookshelves are from Discover University, and they fit perfectly with the aesthetic that I wanted for the library, and that's why I used it. And I just like the Crystal Creations one because of the ladder. I got Crystal Creations just before I bought this, because I feel like the pack has a very dark dark academic. Is that okay? Yeah. But it has that vibe, so I wanted to use it for this build. And for this build, I don't know what style it is, to be honest with you. I feel like I'm pulling from everything in this build. Yeah, so now we're working on the bar section, and this deep blue wallpaper or paint is from the new pack. It's so pretty, and I knew that I wanted to use it in here. I knew that I wanted the bar to be blue, or to have hints of blue, and so that's why I had to use it in here. And so it kind of set the tone for everything else in this bar. And for the bar, right, I'm trying something new here. Okay, I was trying to make this interesting thing with these arches. As I'm doing it right now, it's not functional. I will say that, because I tested it out later on. So what I had to do to make it functional was I had to remove the arches that I placed in there, just the plain black arches that I placed, and I needed to make columns and then use spandrels so that whole section is open. And then what I did was I built a basement around the or basement where the bar area is now, and I raised up the arches so that they are not in, or the Sims do not recognize them as being in this area where it is now. It's recognized as being in the basement. So yeah, that's how I made it functional. It works now as it is, but and I wish I recorded that, but it just would have made the video a lot longer, because I actually had to go and figure out, okay, how am I going to make this functional if it's not working the way that I have it at the moment. And so I just did that trick of raising up the arches through the basement and actually making it open. But because I made it spandrels, right, there was a little space between the spandrel and then the roof, so it looked a little bit weird. I then just used a live edit fenced, sized it down. It's a brick fence, sized it down, and then raised it up also from the basement so that it fit just in between the space between the roof and the spandrel. And it actually ended up looking really nice. I like the difference between the texture of the arch and then the wood texture that was on the fence that I used. So you'll see that in the end. Like I said, I only discovered that it wasn't working, because for some reason I thought it was going to work. So I only discovered that it wasn't working when I tested it out, and at that point I was done recording. So that's why I didn't make it here. If you know there's anything about the explanation that you do not understand, let me know, and I think maybe I'll make a short or a reel about it on how I built the bar. Yeah, so for this the chairs and stuff, I just used the booths from, I think it's from Dine Out, and then for the chairs, those chairs are from Vampires, and then the stools by the bar is from Get Famous. The chairs right now are white, but I do end up changing it back to the deep blue because I felt like there was not enough blue in the bowl. And yeah, so that changes back to blue. And then for this planters, I've been doing it everywhere, but the planter is from Life and Death live edit, and then the plant that I placed in it is from Crystal Creations. And then I use my favorite lights from Lovestruck. You've seen me use this in all 3 of my past builds now. Not the cottage that but the 2 before that, I use those lights. I really like them. And then for this section over here, I wanted mirrors, but the mirrors in the game are very small. They aren't very big, obviously. So I decided to make ones out of the Vlad painting, and then I just use the basic mirror from, I think the one that I use is from Gshade, but there are ones in base game as well that you can use, and I place that in the frame. Yeah. And then for this section, I don't like a wall that is bland or where there's a lot of space on with nothing else. And I was thinking, what else can I do that's interesting? And in one of my first videos that I posted, I can say that now because I don't have that much, but one of the first ones I posted, it was the rental. I had done that with the wainscoting from Decor to the Max, and then the vines from vampires, and to make the wall a little bit interesting. And then the lights that I put there was from Gshade. And then for the hallway, I wanted the hallway to be really dark and dingy and like scary in a way. So I used the paint from, or the wall bricks from Castle Estates. And then I used a few paintings and statues in here. And then I also wanted some flags, which is kind of another reference, in the hallways for the different, I guess, occult people. But yeah, we're very inclusive. You can see that nowhere in this build at the moment do you have an idea of which occult this build is for. I feel like, in my opinion, I feel like that's the case. Like, I don't feel like it's specifically for werewolves. I don't feel like it's for vampires. Is it more a vampire style based on the style of vampires in this game? Yes, it is. Because werewolves have very broken down furniture. It's grungy. It's like, yeah, it's grungy. I think that's the correct word to use. And then vampires and spellcasters have more of the style that you have in here. So that is also something that I want advice on, how to incorporate more of the werewolf aesthetic in here, because I feel like maybe the objects in game will throw me off a little bit with how different they are, if that makes any sense at all. So then for the bathrooms, right, I wanted something at the back of the toilets to make it a little bit more interesting. So I thought of doing a stained glass window at the back, and I just used the stained glass windows from Get Together. Yeah, it's from Get Together. The toilets are from vampires and the chandeliers are from vampires. I use vampire chandeliers throughout. In the beginning, I was using the one from Life and Death, and then I tried to use the one from the new pack as well. But those chandeliers look very... Okay, there's something with a vampire chandelier that I just love. Not only does the light that it emits, it's pretty, like the light that it emits is so pretty, but also the feeling that it gives is kind of like an old, dark place. Yeah, so that's why I use the vampires chandeliers throughout the build, and I'll probably use it in the top or on the first the second and third floors as well. And then here is also, you know, another little reference. I was searching through the catalog for a waterfall or something that looked like what I'm referencing, and I'll explain what I'm referencing in the next video. But for those who are fanatics of that certain movies, like I am, you would know what this is referencing basically. So yeah, I found that waterfall from Romantic Garden, and then I placed another waterfall in it because I didn't think water came from the flower one. But yeah, I found another one to kind of create more of the shape. But like I said, it's not an accurate or a complete replica of what I'm referencing, but it's inspired by that. So if you thought that I was inspired by that, you are right. And so yeah, I just finished up this bathroom. There is another bathroom exactly the same on the other side of this, or just opposite this bathroom, so that there are enough bathrooms for all the Sims that you may have here. So because there are a lot of bathrooms, I'm wondering, should I include bathrooms on the second and third floor? And I probably should, because we don't want Sims having oopsies, on the second and third floor, because like I said, this build is huge. It's so big. And so I had this room open here, and I was wondering, what can I do in the room? And so I decided to make it like a utility closet or a handyman closet, because the idea is that the school would have a janitor, and not a utility closet, I mean a janitor's room or a utility room. So I just placed in a whole lot of boxes, brooms, mops, all of those kind of things that you can find from Debug. And then there was this space in the back as well that was just open. And so I also got this idea to place all, like, a whole lot of statues that the school is currently not using in this room. Yeah, so that's what I placed in that corner over there. This pantry shelf, I think maybe from Dine Out. And then everything else is like scattered across the different packs that we have for the game. I put those cauldrons in there as well, because the idea is that, if you can have a potions class, or if you can teach people how to use the cauldron, then I would have cauldrons in the other classes, and I guess this is where they store the extras. It is quite a small utility room for how big the build is, but like I said, I just had this extra room that I had no idea what to do with it. And then for this, what I'm doing now is I'm making a coffee station for the workers. But honestly, I would recommend maybe removing this, because now Sims are coming in here, and I guess you can lock it. Or I would say you should just set it to employees if you do run this as a small business. Um, because now Sims keep on coming in here and making coffee. It's so frustrating, because they leave their cups everywhere, and you get the stinky moodlet if the cups are there for too long and nobody's washing up. And also, I forgot to place in the bar plumbing or sinks, and so I placed it afterwards in the just 2 sinks and then the dishwasher. But yes, I think that was all for this build. You'll see me place all of those statues in the corner now, but let me know which rooms you think I should include, which classrooms, which skills I should account for, and let's also discuss what should happen with mermaids, if something else should be done for them, because shame, they already have so little. So yeah, let me know. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you liked how this turned out, and I'll catch you guys, or I'll chat to you guys in the next video. Bye bye.